It's going to be in the Student Rec Center. We're expecting a standing room only, but we don't know until we get there. But we have the Wenatchee Valley Symphony Ensemble. It's not the full orchestra, but they have the ensemble, and they will be playing several songs for us. And we have the Apollo Club. They're going to be doing singing. We have Christy Robinson, who's going to sing one of the opening songs. We have some very military type things that we're going to present. The flag. We'll be presenting a folded flag for the 58,281 that didn't make it back from Vietnam. And there'll be very militaristic celebrations, and we're going to have a 21-gun salute. It's going to be a good event. We're trying, because this is the last year of the 50-year commemoration, we're trying to make this the biggest and the best event that the Valley's ever seen for Vietnam vets. That's what our goal is.
Can you talk a little bit about the service that the two of you saw? And maybe I'll start with you, Robin. You were a Vietnam-era service member, correct?
Yes, and I was in the Air Force. I did several jobs in the Air Force, and when I got out, it was just when Afghanistan, Ayatollah Khomeini was just starting his thing, and we started doing targets for them. But my military service was basically in several bases. I was a loadmaster at the start, and then ended up taking a different job as heating and air conditioning. And it helped me through my career for the rest of my life.
And Ron, tell me about the service that you saw when you were enrolled in the services.
Okay, so I was really in the peak of it, and 1966, 67, and 68. Did 2 tours in Vietnam. I was on the aircraft carrier, USS Oriskany, and we saw a lot of action. October 26th of 1966, we had a fire, and we lost 44 men during that period. And it affected me. I was 19 years old, and it made me a man right away. I can just say that the Vietnam War affected me the rest of my life, and still does. So,
can you say offhand how many Vietnam-era veterans we know of are living in the Wenatchee Valley?
Yeah, I don't know that, but what we really want to do for this event is to reach out to the Vietnam veterans who don't belong to the VFW or don't belong to the American Legion or go to the Veterans Hall, because they need to know about the event and come to it. Not only just the Vietnam vets that we want at the event, we want the next generation there too. We want the people who protested against the Vietnam veterans, we want them to come too, because a lot of those people, they don't feel right about what they did back then. I can tell you a secondhand story if you're interested. I don't usually like to tell secondhand stories because it's always better coming from the person. But this Vietnam veteran had on a hat. It identified him as a Vietnam veteran. He was in a store, a grocery store, and the woman in front of him, when she told how much the bill was, she said she needed to take the toilet paper out because she didn't have quite enough money. And the veteran said, "No, you take that, I'm going to pay for it," and he paid for it. He only had a couple items, so when he went out, she was putting the groceries in her car, and he went over and said, "Here, let me help you." And she says, "Oh, I just want to tell you I'm sorry." And he says, "No, you don't have to be sorry." And she says, "No, I want to tell you I'm sorry because I was one of those people that called you names and spit on you when you came home." And he said that he teared up. Nobody had ever said that to him before. So the event is not just for the veterans, although we would like to get as many there as we can, but the next generation, if you guys don't understand what happened to the Vietnam vets, history's liable to repeat itself. and we don't really need that.
When folks like yourselves are gathered at the post or at the Legion Hall, and you talk about that time in your lives, what are the feelings that arise when you discuss Vietnam and your service there? I mean, how do you look back on it now?
I don't even talk about it. Most of the gentlemen that I'm with the Honor Guard, we don't talk about that. We talk about what we're doing for the service that we're doing, and even when I'm sitting back having a soda or a refreshment, the war doesn't really come up that often. We know what everybody's done because we know everybody pretty much in the hall, and but we just don't usually talk about it. Not with my group anyway.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Only a Vietnam vet can understand a Vietnam vet, and personally, one-on-one, sometimes it's shared because we have shared experiences, or you know somebody that was stationed at the same place that you were, and you kind of talk about those things. But a friend of mine who was in World War II, I went to visit him at a what do they call it, a senior place, and we had a talk, and he was a very good friend of mine. He shared some of the things that he went through in World War II, and afterward he told me, he said, "You know what, Ron?" He says, "I've never shared this with anybody, not even my family." He said, "Because I knew that they wouldn't understand." And so it takes a vet to understand a vet, but as far as dwelling on it, everybody's in a different place, and some people, it's very emotional, and they don't even want to go there. My son asked me about my service in Vietnam and asked me if I would tell him about it, and he could record it. And I said, you know, I spent 50 years trying to forget it, and now you're asking me to tell you about it. And eventually I did. I went ahead and did that for him because, hey, I would have loved to have had that from my dad, you know, who was in World War II, and on Guadalcanal. I didn't know anything about my dad's service because he didn't talk about it. So I think at the American Legion and stuff, it's just kind of a camaraderie, and people get together more to have fun and live life. So we don't dwell on it.
Do you think this event on March 29th is a chance for members of the public who don't know that experience and haven't had those kind of tests and trials? Is this a chance for them to learn more?
I sure hope so, because like I said, if the next generation doesn't know what happened to us, when I got out of the service, of course, it depends. Everybody has a different experience, and it depends on where you were at. I got out in San Francisco, which was one of the hotbeds of the protests and stuff. And when I got out, I was told, don't wear my uniform home, that it will only cause unwanted attention. And so, do you think that high school kids nowadays would know that or even believe it? Well, we're here. There's, whatever you said, 800,000 of us still alive. We need to pass that on. And it did happen. And this is what happened. Because now we celebrate our heroes, our people who served in the service, and people say thank you for your service. But we didn't do it back then. And so we just need, I sure hope the next generation gets it and understands what happened. I really do.
What kind of things are folks that served in your era dealing with right now, specifically related to the war?
Well, I go out to the VA clinic. We're very fortunate to have a VA clinic here in town. Otherwise, you'd have to end up going to Spokane. So a lot of what I hear is people have hearing problems that are related from the war. See, and believe it or not, we still have a lot of people with PTSD that have been not diagnosed and not helped with the treatment or whatever it is of the PTSD. And it's not unusual for somebody to live their life working and raising a family and then go into retirement and have the PTSD come forward. It's when you're idle and you have that extra time on your hands that PTSD can sneak in and get you. But we have a couple of very capable VA service officers, and we're going to give that information out at the event. And if people have a problem, they need to contact their VA service officer. They are trained to help them through the process of filing the paperwork and doing whatever you need to do to get the help. The VA has drastically changed from even 10 years ago. I think when Trump was in his first presidency, he made some changes to the VA, and the VA is very responsive now. It's not so much on the veteran to prove this or prove that. They have records and they try to help the veteran more than they used to. So I would encourage anybody that has an issue related to their service to contact the service officer for sure.
Is there concern among veterans that with some of the government cuts that are happening now, the VA might be affected and have its capacity diminished in the near future?
We've heard talk. We've heard people talking about it, but nothing's been finalized that I've heard yet. There's quite a few of our group that use the VA, and I'm not one of them. But they're concerned, as anybody should be, what's going to happen.
Robin, talk a little bit, if you would, about the Honor Guard. It's a feature of these kinds of commemorations that we see but might not quite understand what your role is.
Yes, our role is we do a lot of celebrations of life for people. We do funerals. I work with all the funeral homes in the area, and sometimes outside of the area. We got one from Waterville that we're going to be coming up on the Friday before our celebration. I just found out about this one, and that's we're all volunteers. We use our own cars. We use our own gas. We go to them. I work with a lot of family members that have lost their loved ones, and it's our honor to be there for them. And it's one of those things that just hits you in the heart when you're doing it. You know, it makes you feel good that you're able to honor a veteran. And but the celebrations of life, those are for people that want to just do it at their house and have their friends and families and them over. So we do quite a few of those too.
Have you been in attendance at many funerals or commemorations for Vietnam-era service members who passed?
Yes, lots. I'm from Washington, D.C., so I remember when they put up the Vietnam Wall, and I went down for that, and that was quite touching.
Is there anything else you think folks should know today about the March 29th commemoration and what they could be expecting on that day?
I think they can expect a really good celebration, and if they can make it and bring your kids with you, it's a family event. We're just excited to see as many community members there as we can get. Mayor Wenatchee and East Wenatchee will both be there, say a little something about it. We'll have the apple blossom queen. She'll have a little something to say. So yeah, I hope everybody shows up, and I'm hoping it's going to be a good event. I think it will. We've done a lot of practicing. We've been planning for this for a long time.
I'd also like to say thank you so much for the college. They have bent over backwards for us.
They sure have.
And they've been really, really helpful, and we want to thank them.
Yeah.
Well, Ron Kurpuis, Sergeant at Arms, and Robin Thompson, Honor Guard Captain for American Legion Post 10 here in Wenatchee. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you,
welcome.
Jefferson.
You bet.
It was a pleasure.
You're watching the NCWLIFE channel.